Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. One of the most talked about crazy recruiting processes has finally come to a close as Arch Manning officially commits to the University of Texas. This is obviously a massive, massive get for Steve Sarkisian and the University of Texas football program. And it has a ripple effect on not only the Big 12, but the SEC and college football as a whole, as the University of Texas seems to be really starting to pick up this recruiting process. Now, before we get into talking about what this means for the program, what this means for the country, I just wanted to say thank you guys for the support you guys have shown the channel. If you guys do like talking college football, consider subscribing to the channel. It's been absolutely awesome to see all the support you guys have shown. Now, let's start talking a little Arch Manning as the player. Now, most of you, if you are not a casual college football fan, know the name Arch Manning. He has been all over Twitter for the last 2, 3, pretty much for the last couple of years, but in the last couple of months, he's been making the recruiting stops to all the big time programs in the country. Was just at Georgia, was just at Alabama, took his official visit to University of Texas. It obviously must have gone well because he commits there. And this recruiting process was something that I haven't really seen. We've seen really good players get a lot of attention, but Arch Manning was different, and rightfully so. He's the number one quarterback in the country. He's the number one player in the country. And he's a guy ready to kind of dominate as he steps onto a college football campus. He is 6'4", 215 pounds. He absolutely rips the ball. And he's got that pedigree that everyone talks about. He's a Manning. He knows he is ready for the big time moments. He's ready to play on the biggest stage. And that's a lot of the biggest question marks you have about the quarterback recruits is not necessarily their talent. A lot of these guys have big arms. They can move. But are you going to be ready to perform at the biggest stage? Arch Manning has done that, and he's got the pedigree to do that. He's got the best people in his ear to kind of help him along. And so he's a guy that also, I didn't really know this until I started watching some of his highlights and his tape from high school. He's a phenomenal athlete. And he's 6'4", 215. He's a plus athlete. He can make plays outside the pocket. But that's what you guys need to know about Arch Manning, the football player. And that's something you probably already know if you are into college football. Is he is an absolute stud. He's one of the most heralded recruits that we've seen in the country and pretty much past the last decade. And what does this mean for Texas is they are set at the quarterback position for what? The next 4 years. You got Quinn Ewers, who was one of the most heralded quarterback prospects before Arch Manning. He's now at Texas. He's going to be there for 2 years. Hopefully he starts this year, but they're going to have him for 2 more years. And then when he's done, they're going to have Arch Manning kind of waiting in the wings. And the biggest thing you can't do for the rest of the country is give Steve Sarkisian all this offensive talent. I mean, he's got 2 quarterbacks who are generational level talents, and he's one of the best at designing offenses and developing quarterbacks. This is absolutely a massive get for Texas. And another thing I want to talk about is what they've been doing in the recruiting process in general. So in 2022, they put together a top 5 recruiting class. And the thing I want to note, if we take a look at this, is they recruited the offensive line. What's the biggest question mark about Texas coming into 2022? Is the offensive line. Are they going to be able to protect the quarterback to let all these playmakers like Bijan Robinson, like Xavier Worthy, like Isaiah Neyor, are they going to be able to get the ball into those hands? Are they going to be able to protect the quarterback long enough for that to happen? Now, that might be a question mark this year, but it's not going to be a question mark in the future. Texas absolutely destroyed the offensive line recruiting process in 2022. And what does that mean? Not only is Quinn Ewers going to have some good protection in the coming years, but Arch Manning, when he steps on campus, is going to have one of the better offensive lines in the country. At least if these prospects turn out to be really good, which they're supposed to be good. These guys are bona fide 5-star developed dudes. Another thing is, what is the biggest knock on Texas going to the SECs? Oh, they're not going to be able to compete in the trenches. They're not going to be able to block some of the defensive lines that they see in the SEC. That's changing. That's clearly changing. Guys like Kelvin Banks, Devin Campbell, they're dudes who are ready to kind of compete at the highest level as an offensive lineman. And so not only is Arch Manning coming in, he's going to be coming into an awesome offensive line, an offensive play caller like Steve Sarkisian. And then Texas always has the weapons on the outside. When you look at this year, Xavier Worthy, Isaiah Neyor, Bijan Robinson, Roschon Johnson, who's probably a top 10 running back, and he's just behind the best running back. You could put in Jaleel Billingsley in there too. Texas always has the athletes on the outside. What the big question mark is, are they going to be able to protect up front? And that looks like it's going to be not a problem with some of the recruits that they're going to bring in. And one more thing, and it's something that you see with a lot of those quarterbacks, is when they recruit this early on in the process, all those other wide receivers, all those other running backs, all those other playmakers are saying, oh, I want to go play for Arch Manning. You look at Ohio State, how they recruited so well that wide receiver position. Yeah, they have some good recruiters in Brian Hartline, but it's also they want to go play for that offense because the quarterback play is so good at Ohio State. Arch Manning is a phenomenal quarterback, and these wide receivers in the 2023 and 2024 class are going to be looking at Arch Manning committed to Texas and say, I want to go catch balls from Arch Manning. So this is going to help their recruiting process the rest of 2023 and into 2024 in a big time way. Another example of that is JJ McCarthy at Michigan. Michigan hasn't landed a five-star quarterback like JJ McCarthy. And JJ McCarthy is not even close to the level that Arch Manning is considered to be. But he really helped that recruiting process. You have Arch Manning now is probably going to be your biggest recruiter and spokesperson for the University of Texas recruiting. It's a big get outside of just the player. The player's awesome. We know that. But it's going to help the recruiting and it's going to help that transition to the SEC in a big time way. This is massive, massive news for college football. Once again, appreciate you guys checking out the video. If you guys do like the content, you like talking college ball, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.